Hi guys,
And welcome
to Sort of the Story.
My name is Janey.
My name is Max.
And your name is?
Go
That's
ahead,
a
tell
terrible
us.
name. They already said it.
Your parents must hate you.
This is the adults only podcast, or like teenagers and up. No children allowed.
It's adults only, but if you're a kid, we're not going to tell your parents. But like, just so you know, this isn't going to be.
Yeah, we're going to curse a whole lot, and we're going to talk about some pretty crazy things. Maybe. I don't know Max's story. But welcome. This is this podcast where we tell each other stories.
And also you are here.
And also you are also here.
Well, we tell each other stories.
I mean, we might as well just keep going. We haven't done this in a while.
No, it's been weird.
It's been a weirdly long time. Also, the longer we go without recording or preparing our weird homework. By the way, I was telling Eli this podcast is basically letting people see how Max and I talk to each other. Anyway, we do this for free every day.
Yeah.
But now we've made it homework.
Yeah.
We're like, what would be better than our friendship?
If there were deadlines about it.
If we also had to read about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that happen a bunch of times where you've been like, hey, we have to record today. And I'm like, oh, fuck, there was a test today?
Oh my god, I didn't prepare, but I don't know my lines.
And it's like the 5 minutes in between classes, and I'm just flipping through my notes with my eyes as wide as possible, hoping that somehow I will, like, visually memorize something that I can read during the test.
And what's weird, too, is
how things work.
I do this basically for a living anyway. Like, a lot of my business is storytelling. It's remembering weird myths and fairy tales and all this stuff, and then I tell it out loud while I do other things. But the second we have to do it for this podcast, I can't remember a single story.
Oh my god.
I'm like, have I ever read a book?
I don't think so.
A book?
I've never seen you read
made that up.
Book?
Book? That's the sound of me turning into a chicken.
Chickens can't read.
Oh, and neither can I. Welcome to Sort of the Hobby.
I like that it sounds like you're reading off of a script for what this is, and then you just remembered as you're reading from the script that you can't read.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
Right before this podcast started, my nose started bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a fun episode. Get ready. Put your pants on, kids. That's not a saying.
Get your butts in the seats.
Hey, everybody, put your butts
on the floor, gang.
Screw your butts back on.
Alright, we just have to stop talking. This is too much. Let's tell some goddamn stories.
Make like a hammer and nail.
What? Don't say that. Not to the kids. Hey, kids, get out of here.
Make like a nail
Go on,
and
scram.
rust.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're under 18, you have to collect at least one, but preferably 2 or 3 of your friends, and stack on top of each other and wear a trench coat while you're listening to it, so that you can get into this rated R podcast.
I'm imagining 3 17-year-olds
stacked on top of each other wearing the longest trench coat.
They're all 6 feet tall.
It's a bunch of football players.
We have an 18-foot listener out there. And you know what?
They're not very tall then.
Welcome. 6 feet tall. 3 of them.
Oh, I think you said 4 of them.
No.
They're each like 4.5 feet tall.
You know, yeah,
a bunch of tiny football players. All right, let's get to some fucking stories.
We have 5 3-year-olds stacked on top of each
other. Okay.
And it's time. Max is going to go first, yeah?
I'm going to go first.
Woo! All right, Max, tell me a tale.
Alrighty.
Oh, shit.
Interesting that you would say it like that.
Okay.
You're
about to tell me an American tale about 5 people going west?
Papa!
Fievel!
Papa!
Fievel!
Papa! No, I'm not going to tell you an American tale. I am going to tell you a tale from America about an American tale, though. So
that's so weird. I'm also telling you an American tale. That's so
really?
Weird.
Is it
Guys,
about tales?
Today's theme is America. Go ahead.
Is yours about tales?
No.
Okay. I thought we had chosen.
Kind of. There are tales in my story.
If it's not the same one. Okay. I was terrified that, because we don't discuss the stories ahead of time, I was terrified that this was going to be the one that we accidentally choose the same story.
And then we, rush to talk over each other.
I was thinking about doing transcriptions for this podcast because I would like to have that for, hearing impaired listeners and stuff like that. So that
I would love for you to do that. I tried to do it once. And I cried.
The problem is that we talk over each other nonstop. So it's really hard. Anyways, This is fine because this is a pretty short story that I'm going to want to talk about a lot. But
Okay.
yeah, so this story, I'm not going to tell you the name of because I think you probably already know it.
An American Taily Po. It's about a little Jewish mouse who goes west.
So this is a story that I first heard in 9th grade at a sleepover with some of my best friends. And 2 of them had been best friends since they were kids. And they would always reference this story as being like the scariest thing ever, but they wouldn't tell us what the story was.
Ooh.
So me and my other friends were always like, they would be like, ooh. And then we would be like, what are you talking about?
We're really losing the effect here.
Yeah. Well, I can't say the thing without spoiling it. But
Okay.
So finally, when I was in 9th grade, they told us the story and I didn't sleep. And I don't know whether it was because it was like a Halloween sleepover and I had eaten like a metric ton of candy
That's
or
had
if it was
nothing
because
to
this
do
is a
with
genuinely
it.
terrifying story. But just so you guys know, content warning for this being really scary and also an animal is harmed, but it's fine. I promise
But
it's
the
fine.
animals... Okay, you didn't give a content warning for Rawhead
No.
being skinned and beheaded, which I should have gotten from context. But we had no content warnings, so this is your only warning you
We're
get.
only human. I forget. I'm very dumb. I don't remember most things. So
Same, and also we can't read, so you're gonna have to be nice to us.
Okay, so in the great American area of Appalachia.
Okay,
Which-
that's where Max's mommy's from. Mommy?
Ew. That's where my mother is from.
What's wrong with me?
So the Appalachians are a mountain range in the United States that stretches from New York up in the north all the way down to Mississippi in the south.
Mhm.
So that includes, just a lot of areas. So it's a kind of a catch-all term, but when we talk about like Appalachian folk stories and stuff like that, oftentimes they are specifically like people who live in the really rural, like semi-isolated areas in the mountains, which means that there are a lot of really cool stories that come from there. A lot of times they're a combination of native stories and Black folk tales that came with, people, slaves being brought to the South and everything like that in those stories, because a lot of times also the people who lived in the mountains would work or be indentured to people in the bigger areas. So they a lot of times were working in the same areas as Black people who were brought over as slaves and stuff like that, as well as obviously Native people that lived in the same areas, but were also treated sort of the same in society, where it was, even people who lived in the mountains, even if they were white, a lot of times were treated as like second class citizens. So they ended up, being put in a lot of similar spaces with a lot of other people who were discriminated against in the U.S., especially prior to like 1950. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of context before I even tell the story.
That classism. I mean.
Hell yeah, classism. But there are a lot of really cool stories from Appalachia that, everything from they're like it's a lot of like logging and mining areas. So a lot of times you'll have like weird cryptids that pop up there because people are spending a lot of time in the forest and underground and stuff, which is really fun. Mothman is technically in Appalachia. Lots of different things. My personal favorite story, I grew up next in Central Virginia near the Blue Ridge Mountains, and a lot of people don't know this, but when the national parks were established back in the early 20th century, the federal government basically came in and told people who had been living in the mountains for their entire lives that they just had to move. They gave them a small stipend to buy a new house, but they were like, we're establishing this land as a national park, so you just have to leave. Get your stuff and leave. So there are a lot of areas in the Blue Ridge Mountains where you can walk around up by Skyline Drive near Charlottesville in Virginia. You can walk around and you can still see like this sort of skeletons of buildings, like chimneys that you'll just see in the middle of the forest, which is really cool. My dad is a photographer and he used to take me out into the Blue Ridge Mountains when I was a kid. And he taught me a little bit about like the wildlife and stuff like that. But one of the things that he taught me is that you can always tell where there are areas in the Blue Ridge that there was once a graveyard, because those areas will always have, the ground will have a lot of moss because it's very very nutrient rich, and it'll also have a lot of violets. So if you're in the mountains and you see a patch full of violets, it's most likely that was an old graveyard.
How much do you want to bet that the meadow that Edward and Bella lay in Twilight is a graveyard, and he knows it but she doesn't?
Ooh, he probably murdered someone there.
Oh,
Serial
all
killer
of
behavior.
Edward's victims.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, this is from Appalachia, which again stretches most of like the interior of the East Coast of the United States. Huge area. But if you're ever interested in folk stories, some of the like best folk stories I've read come from Appalachia, because they combine a lot of different elements from a lot of different aspects of like American society, which is really cool. So this story is set in Appalachia, oftentimes in Tennessee. Winter was coming, and there were ways of telling that the winter was going to be very harsh. And so there's a very small town in the mountains, and the people in the town prepared for a very, very harsh winter. They all got as much as they could from, the larger towns nearby. They made sure to cure and store enough like fruits and vegetables to last through the winter. But they were prepared for a very rough winter. There was a man who lived even further out from this very small, isolated town. He lived up in the mountains in a cabin. It was himself and his 3 hunting dogs. And people in the town, a very close-knit community, people offered him a home to stay in for the winter because they told him, you're not going to be able to survive the winter up there on your own. Like, you just don't have, he wouldn't buy meat from anyone else because he was a good hunter. And so he was like, I won't eat it if I didn't get it myself. Okay. And so he wouldn't buy meat from anyone. He wasn't a good farmer. But he basically told everyone that he was going to be fine, and that he was a good hunter, and so he would be able to survive the winter based on just what he hunted during that winter with him and his dogs.
He has 3 dogs to cuddle with. They're going to keep him warm.
Yeah, there you go. So winter came, and the people down in the village checked with him one last time in the beginning of November. They were like, please come stay with us. You are not going to survive the winter out there, and we want to help. And he said, no, I can handle this myself. I've lived in these mountains for my whole life. I'll be fine. So the first snow came and immediately made the mountain impassable. People would look up and they would sometimes see smoke rising from his chimney, which is how they knew that he was still alive. But for the most part, there was no getting in or out of his cabin, of the town. So the people sort of hunkered down and waited for winter to be over. Meanwhile, the man up in the cabin with his 3 dogs was finding it more difficult than he had anticipated to hunt in the snow because most of the animals were hibernating under like 3 feet of snow.
Yeah.
So he was only really catching, rabbits and, birds, sometimes like a squirrel or something like that, but it just wasn't enough to feed him and his dogs. And so he was boiling the bones to make broth whenever he could. He was pulling up, green onions and wild garlic and everything from around wherever he could find it. But again, it was the dead of winter. There was very little he could find. So just as things were about to get desperate, and I will say, there was no chance of him eating his dogs.
Good.
He had these 3 hunting dogs that had been with him for his entire life. They had, chased off bears and everything like that. They were absolutely his best friends in the entire world and the only quote-unquote people that he trusted. So he was never going to hurt those dogs.
Good.
But he was worried that, all 4 of them were going to starve
to death. Yeah.
So he went a little bit further past where he normally would have gone to hunt. And he caught a squirrel, which he quickly, skinned and gutted and took as much as he could off of it so that, he could have something for his dogs. And they all kind of chewed the raw meat right off the bone because it was, they were so hungry and the dogs weren't going to make it much further without food. So he killed the squirrel, and then he didn't see anything for the longest time. And then finally he got to an area of the forest that he didn't recognize. As long as he had spent out in those woods, he had gotten far enough that he didn't know where he was. And he saw something that he had never seen before. And it was an animal, very sort of the size of like a large house cat. And it was all black, pitch black, with like thick fur. And it had huge paws, like paws too big for its body, like sort of like a wolf. And these tufted ears. And a long, long bushy tail. And it had these glowing yellow-green eyes that flashed in the light.
Cool.
And a snarly smile across its face. Do you know what story this is?
No.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just so excited. I'm like doing a silent clap. I'm like delighted that there's a weird cryptid thing showing up. Because I was going to say, is it like a panther or a jaguar? But then I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
No. Yeah, it's smaller. It's about the size of like a raccoon maybe, but with longer legs. It's not like anything he's ever seen before.
Okay.
And he, again, has lived here his entire life. He's seen just about everything in this forest. So he sees this creature, and it's kind of just sitting underneath of a tree, and it's watching him, and it's watching his dogs. And it doesn't seem threatened, and it doesn't seem threatening. It's just sort of watching. And so he reaches behind him, and he very carefully takes his hunting axe that he has on his back, or his hunting knife that he has on his back.
I'm sorry, he's about to throw an axe.
No,
this guy is hot as shit.
I read 4 different versions of this story, and one of them had an axe. But no, he takes his hunting knife off of his back, and he sort of slowly crouches down to the ground while he's keeping eye contact with this creature. And the creature doesn't seem to react. It doesn't really care about what he's doing. And so he looks at the creature and very slowly pulls his arm back and he throws the knife at the creature. And as soon as the knife leaves his hand, the creature jumps up and starts to run away. But it doesn't run away quick enough.
No.
And the hunting axe pins its tail to the tree and cuts off its tail. But the creature runs off. It runs off without his tail, and this long, bushy black tail is left hanging on this tree from his hunting knife.
Good God.
So he goes and he takes the tail off the tree, and it's starting to get dark, and so he realizes he's not going to catch anything else. He heads back towards his cabin.
Mm-hmm.
He gets back there and he makes a stew from the tail that he has. He boils the bones to make a broth and everything. And then he turns the bones into a mash, and he splits it between himself and his dogs so that they can have the marrow and everything, all the good parts. And he makes this stew with, the little bits of meat that it has on the tail and everything. And it's a little bit greasy. It's sort of like oxtail, but it's the best thing that he's had in a very long time because he's very, very hungry.
Oxtail soup is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. That night, he, for the first time in weeks, goes home with a full belly. He goes to bed with a full belly. Did I say that right?
Yeah, goes to sleep with a full belly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I said goes to town with a full belly. What does that mean?
He goes to town on that full belly.
So he's full up of this soup, and he goes to sleep. And that night he hears something scratching against his door, as though one of his dogs is asking to be let out.
Yeah.
And he looks around and he sees that all three of his dogs are asleep on the little hay pile bed that he has, but he still hears this scratching at the door. And so he goes to the door and he opens it, and he sees something dark bolt away in the night. He looks around and he, gets his hunting knife out from where it was, and he sort of takes it in his hand and he looks around, but he doesn't see this thing. So he closes the door and he goes and lays back down in bed. And then he hears a sound like something crawling up the wall of the outside of his house and jumping onto the roof.
Okay.
And he hears this like thump on the roof, and he's like, oh, what is that? And so he takes the hunting knife in hand again, and he hears this raspy voice from the top of his roof, and it just whispers, Tailypo, Tailypo, you've got my Tailypo. And he's never heard this word before, Tailypo.
Okay.
But this thing says, Tailypo, Tailypo, you've got my Tailypo. And he opens the door again and he looks around. And at this point, the fire under his soup pot has died down, so it's pretty dark. And he looks around and he doesn't see anything. And he looks up on the roof and he sees something scurrying off again, but he doesn't catch it. So he goes back into his bed and he lays down and he holds his knife and he can't get back to sleep. He's thinking about this sound and he's wondering if there's a person there playing a prank on him or something, but he's never heard a voice like this before. He starts to drift out to sleep when he hears the scratching sound again. And so he jolts upright. He grabs his hunting knife once more. He goes to the door. He walks as quietly as he can to the door without, trying to scuffle any of the dirt on the floor or anything like that. And he grabs the door handle and he yanks the door open really quickly and he sees the creature. And this time the creature doesn't run. It flies at him.
No.
And it lands full force on his chest. And this thing is heavier than it looks.
Okay.
And it knocks him over onto his back. The hunting knife goes clattering out of his hand. And so he's on his floor and there's this creature. And he sees its face close up now. And it has those flashing yellow-green eyes and this, like, gnarled smile with sharp teeth. And it says, Tailypo, Tailypo, you've got my Tailypo. And he says, I don't have your Tailypo. I had it, but then I ate it. I was hungry. I'm sorry. And the thing leans in close to his face and sniffs. And then it sort of does that thing that cats do, where it walks in a little circle on his chest.
Yeah.
And then it digs its claws into his stomach and guts him all the way across his stomach, rips open his stomach, pulls out the little bone bits of his tail.
Yeah.
The man is obviously instantly dead.
Good.
The hunting dogs, meanwhile, from the first moment that this thing showed up, have been cowering in the corner. And
no, they also ate the tail.
No, they've been cowering in the corner. This is the first time, like, they've seen every animal in this forest as well. They face down most of them. And these things, as soon as the Tailypo comes in through the door, bolt out the door. And that's how the people in the town found out that this man had died, because these 3 hunting dogs show up at the home of a farmer just at the outside of town, and they are all terrified. And these are like beat up, scarred up, like hunting
they were fighting
dogs.
Bears before.
Yeah, and they are cowering and shivering. And so this farmer sees these 3 dogs and he knows what it means. And there's no more smoke coming from the chimney up on the mountain.
Oof.
So the people go out in the spring when the snow clears, the people go out to the cabin and they see this body flayed open, guts everywhere, super nasty stuff. And they, give him a proper burial and everything like that. And then they go and they close his house down, out of respect. And as one of the men in the town is about to leave, he hears a voice behind him. And he sees something that he's never seen before. A little animal, all black, flashing yellow-green eyes. And it darts up a tree. And it looks down at him from up in the canopy, and it says, "Tailypo, Tailypo, I've got my Tailypo." And that's the end of the story.
Spooky!
Yeah. So that is a traumatizing story.
It's a traumatizing story. Also, all I can think of is Pepper and how she runs around on the top of our kitchen and looks down at us. Like, she's on the ceiling, basically, and will, look down, and her face is all terrifying. Yeah, she's very scary. She basically looks like that. Tailypo.
Yeah,
so very scary.
Tailypo, Tailypo, I've got my Tailypo. Yeah, that was one of the first genuinely scary stories that I heard. And like I said, my friends who knew the story would go back and forth and just, sneak up behind each other and say, "Tailypo," and, scare the shit out of each other. So, anyways, super, super terrifying. I think about this story all the time. Also, there's something so scary about, Tailypo just being, a weirdly childish way to talk about a tale.
Whispering, yeah, the speaking thing. It also implies that there is a whole, kind of language that this thing speaks on its own. The guy even said specifically, "I don't know what that is."
Yeah. So the version of the story that I was closest to is one that I found online on Old Style Tales Press by Michael Kellermeyer. Like I said, you can find it online. There's also an illustrated book by Paul and Joanna Galdone of the Tailypo, and the Tailypo is adorable in it.
He sounded cute.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the story of the Tailypo. I also wanted to mention... I was looking to see, so this one doesn't have an Arns Thompson Uther index because it doesn't really fit into any of the categories. And I know because I tried to find one. The Arns Thompson Uther index is much more specific than I expected.
Fairy tales, though, specifically.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering because it has sort of
I will say, I think that I can answer this question for you when I get to my story.
Yes.
Which is really weird.
Hell yeah.
We didn't plan this together, but this is going to seem like we planned it together.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Other things I wanted to mention, if you guys have ever read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Oh, hell yeah.
The very first Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book, the very first story is The Big Toe.
Yes.
Which is... a story that, according to a Ranker article that I came across when I was trying to find the origin of Tailypo and stuff like that to see if there was any kind of definitive version or anything like that, which there absolutely isn't. No. But came across the Big Toe. The author of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark did an interview, and he said that when he was in the Navy, he heard the story of the Big Toe from one of his fellow sailors. The story of the Big Toe is basically there's a little boy and he's playing out in the garden, and he sees a big toe sticking out of the ground. And so, sort of without thinking, he pulls it out of the ground, and he hears something groan underground. And so he brings the toe back to his house, and his mom makes it into a soup, which, gross, lady.
It's a human toe. It's
also
very
not that
specifically.
Big. Yeah, it's a human toe.
The way that Stephen Gamel illustrates it, it's pretty big.
Yeah, but, still, that's it's turnip sized,
yeah.
You know? It doesn't seem like it would have that much of an impact on your soup. Anyways, so the kid brings the big toe back and gives it to his mom. She makes it into a soup. They all have soup. And then that night, a spooky zombie guy comes and is like, "Where's my big toe?" And he murders everyone to get his big toe back or something. Or he cuts off the kid's big toe.
The author puts it on. Alvin Schwartz.
Alvin Schwartz?
I'm obsessed with those books. Also, yeah. I was just reading them this week.
Oh, cool.
It's really...
It's so weird. Yeah, so that's the big toe. I also found...
Very similar.
Yes. I have a very cool thing. It's called a Ghost Stories deck. It's by Essie Schlosser, who we've talked about a couple of times on this podcast. She was not a podcaster. She was a folklorist. She made this deck of cards that are sort of what are they? They're 4 by 6 or something like that. And it's just a deck of cards that have ghost stories on them. And so there are 50 50 cards, and they have like front and back, just short little ghost stories. And they also have a ranking at the top of the card for how scary it is out of 5 skulls.
S.E. Schlosser, was she Rawhead and Bloody Bones?
I think so.
She was one of your authors.
Yes, yeah. We've talked about S.E. Schlosser a couple times before.
Schlosser. These cards look like little tarot cards a little bit. They're super cute.
Yeah, but so I found, just sort of on a hunch, I looked through that deck, and that deck does have, it has Tailypo in it as well.
Cool.
But it also has a story called Where's My Liver? It's this boy is on a baseball team, and he has a baseball game that he has to go to, and his mom says, okay, we can't make it to your baseball game. We have your dad's boss is coming over for dinner, but on your way home, stop at the store and get some liver, and we'll make liver for dinner because that's his boss's favorite food. So the kid goes to his baseball game. They win the game. He's super excited. He's on his way home, and he gets to his house, and he realizes that he forgot to pick up the liver. And he's like, oh, my parents are going to be so mad at me. I'm going to ruin this big dinner, and it's like a big deal for my dad's job and everything. And so he starts going back to the grocery store, but it starts getting dark, and as it's getting dark, he walks past the graveyard, and he has a thought, and his uncle had just passed away a couple weeks before, so he goes into the graveyard, and he gets a shovel, and he digs up his uncle, and he takes the liver, and then he buries his uncle again.
This little shit.
Yeah, and then he goes back home, and he gives his mom the liver, and it's like, here's the liver, which I assume this kid isn't carrying around butcher paper, so he has to have just, like, a loose liver that he's
Takes it out of
giving
his podcast. His podcast. Takes it out of his pocket, and he's just like, here you go, I won the big game. It's in his baseball mitt.
You know what they say about baseball players? We deliver. So his mom cooks up the liver, and the boss is like, delicious, I've never had a liver that's so good. And then that night, everyone goes to bed, and the uncle comes back from the grave and is like, where's my liver? And then, again, either murders the whole family or steals someone's liver and then goes back to ground or whatever.
I would say, if my nephews pulled that shit on me, I would also come back, and I'd be like... If your nephews
pulled that shit on you, they would be fully felons.
They're full felons.
I'm just saying, this isn't even something that should like pop into your head. You know, if you're like, oh, I forgot to get liver, just go to the store and get liver.
Yeah.
And then be like, hey, I'm sorry, I went to the store and got liver, but I forgot, and it took longer than I expected.
He had enough time. Okay, so the graveyard, was it in his backyard? Because he had enough time to walk to a graveyard, dig shovels,
up a human body.
And also, he would have had to also have broken into a coffin. And then extract the liver, which I'm assuming isn't easy. And then he has to close the coffin, rebury it, pack the dirt down, and then walk home. He could have gone to the store.
I'm rereading this, actually, and his mom actually tells him to get the liver before he goes to the game, and he forgets, and he goes to the game, and then he realizes when he's on the way home.
Oh.
And then also, when he's on the way home, all of the grocery stores are closed.
Okay.
But again, like, the stakes of this, I mean,
okay, yeah, it's a scary story. We get it. It's
yeah, but like,
we have some issues with the logic.
How is your option to dig up okay, you're like, okay, I'm gonna get grounded if I don't, get this liver from my mom, and then your alternative is grave robbing because that'll get you in less trouble?
Less trouble of your own family member? Your mom's eating her brother's liver?
Yeah, that's a weird detail, but he didn't just pick a person, he picked specifically his uncle. So anyways.
Recently buried.
Great uncle. I'm sorry, I did not read this very carefully. I found this literally right before we started. Yes, so this is S.E. Schlosser, Where's My Liver? Yeah, so it's just a category of folktale that I think is really interesting because specifically in the Tailypo story, they make a point to be like, this is a hunter who didn't listen to people who knew better. Mm-hmm. He was determined to stick it out on his own, and then he died. And also, it's a story of a hunter who found something that he didn't understand and decided to hurt it. Mm-hmm. And then he died. Like, it's also a story of taking something that isn't yours and not knowing what the retribution will be, and then you get murdered.
It's like it's an isolationist fear.
Exactly.
Like the Appalachian people living up in the mountains by themselves. The community had to have been so important that they were creating stories like this to be like, we're not alone up in those woods. Also because, I'm sorry, but that is one of the most, like, I wouldn't say haunted, but cursed areas for whatever reason. All of the fucking scary stories come out of that area.
Yeah, I mean, because it's dead quiet at night, and you're far away from everyone else. It is impossibly dark because there's no, city lights or anything to light pollute everything. It's terrifying. I spent one night in the Blue Ridge Mountains when I was younger, and I did not sleep. I was terrified. So if you can imagine doing that all year round, and also nobody's looking for you, can you imagine?
Nope.
It's also interesting to me that in the stories of the Big Toe and Tailypo, which is my Tailypo and the Big Toe is my band name, I've decided.
Ooh, like it.
In these stories, they make a point to be like, hey, they took this thing to make a meal, and it wasn't even a good meal. It wasn't like enough to make it, like, you're still starving at the end of it, Which is just a weird detail that I'm not sure I totally understand the motive for, but it's just interesting that it's not like, it's like, oh, you took down like a wild boar and you had enough meat for the whole winter, but then the boar's ghost came back and,
Rawhead.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's not the same kind of story where it's like, it's just interesting that it's specifically like you take something from something, and I guess you don't finish the job, you don't kill the thing, is the other thing maybe, where it's like you just take a part of it and then it comes back for the part.
It does kind of remind me of the yokai that you were talking about last week, though. Like, it has that cat demon sort of thing of like, don't be mean to animals.
Yes. Yeah.
They're gonna get revenge. They're fucked up. They will claw your throat out or gut you. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of cool animal body horror going on.
Yeah. Again, the moral of these stories is don't fuck with animals.
Don't fuck with animals. Everybody be a vegan. Isn't that the moral, right? I just had a chicken sandwich.
Probably. So hopefully that'll traumatize a whole new era of people.
I'm excited. Go tell your kids. And if you're a kid, we already told you not to listen. Why are you still here?
Yeah. Oh, I should mention also, this is not official, I guess, well, okay, so there's no such thing as official folklore. It's, if you tell a story, it's folklore. There's no, like, baseline, like, bar that you have to pass to make it folklore, but specifically me and my friends in high school who, sort of shared this story with each other would sort of come up with variations on it.
Yeah.
Where we, like, Tailypo became a shorthand for something that would come after you and that you couldn't stop it. And so it would be like, we would be having a sleepover or something, and they would be like, "Oh, you hear scratching in the walls," and it's Tailypo,
like
and
the
stuff like that.
boogeyman. Like,
yeah, it became like a boogeyman in its own right, where it was something that is coming for you and you can't stop it. And even if there was also a variation that I mentioned the story to a friend of mine when I was in college, and the variation that they had heard was that the man cut this tail off of the creature, and then he saw that his dogs were hungrier than him. And so he fed it to his dogs, and he didn't even eat the tail.
And so then punished.
But the Tailypo wouldn't listen to him and still killed him and let his dogs go and everything, which is like, I'm fine with it. But like,
as long as it doesn't kill the dogs.
Yeah, as long as the dogs are fine.
Yeah. That's all.
But it's like, in that situation, it's something where it's like, oh, you don't even have to do the bad thing for it to be, if you fuck with something you don't understand, you're going to get flayed. that's the moral of the story. Anyways,
excellent, spooky. I'm happy to know it. Let's take a quick break. Okay, Max.
Okay, Janey.
Max, okay.
Janey, okay.
Okay, so our friend Jennifer told me this a while ago, that she was cleaning out her grandmother's house. They were moving her, and they had a bunch of books and stuff they were going to give to Goodwill. And she ended up saving one. It's this really old copy of a book. It's called A Treasury of American Folklore, Stories, Ballads, and Traditions of the People, edited by B.A. Botkin. Carl Sandburg did the introduction. So, she saved it for me, and it's all, like, beat up, obviously well-loved, like, just the pages are all brown, and she was like, you can go ahead and, if you want it, you can have this one, since it is, like, an American folklore book. It was also published in 1944, I believe? 1944. Wow. So this is when this is from.
Oh, God, sorry.
Max is drinking spicy hot chocolate!
I got spicy hot cocoa at the Pepper Palace in Helen, Georgia. And I had it during the first section of this, but I didn't put in all that much cocoa because I thought it was going to be spicy, and then it wasn't spicy, and then I wanted it to be more spicy, so I put in more of the cocoa, and now it's really spicy. It has ghost pepper in it, which I'm usually, you know, I mean, it's hot, but it's not like crazy hot. But it just tasted like spicy cocoa before, and now it tastes like
That gotcha.
ghost pepper.
Your whole face went like flush red real fast and then got so white.
I was just so surprised.
Amazing.
Sorry.
Okay.
Ooh, that got me.
Spicy. Are you ready for this story?
I am.
That should be what we do before every story is take just like a weird shot of ghost pepper.
It's like smelling salts before like a weightlifting competition where we're just like, yeah!
Okay, so.
Okay, now back to this beautiful book.
Jennifer gave me this beautiful book, 1944, A Treasury of American Folklore. We haven't covered a lot of American folklore. You've covered more American folklore than I have, but it's mostly like ghost stories, like the cool cryptid stuff, which I am into. What I have found with American folklore and folktales in general is that it's a lot of Paul Bunyan, Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone. It's a lot of the Wild West, and the language is usually very outdated when you hear about it, and it's just something that's not that interesting to me. I lived in Missouri. I don't need to know that things are flat forever, and that seems to be the landscape of every place that I hear about. So I'm like, I don't have a lot of interest in it, and at least I didn't think I did, but I started flipping through this book because I was very touched that Jennifer would give this to me, and so I was like, let's go through this book and see what it is. And we do have a lot of Johnny Appleseed, we have a lot of Paul Bunyan, and then we have something called Bow-Legged Bill. You know Bow-Legged Bill?
No, but I love his name.
You're gonna love him.
I'm so excited.
I fell in love. I did already put a picture of it up on our Instagram when I got it, but I will be sharing some more things about Bow-Legged Bill.
Nice.
So there's a couple stories about him, and then I'm going to go into what he is. So this is just, the first story is called The Crimping of Bow-Legged Bill.
Is he crumping?
He's the crumpet? The crimping. Okay, so crimping, Max, is interchangeable. It's old slang. A lot of this is old slang. And I have so many quotes in here because this book was written in 1944. And it might as well be in a different language.
Love it.
I do not understand what they're saying half the time. Which is another thing that has kept me from this book, from like American folklore. So crimping is the same thing as Shanghaiing. It's the same thing as like which sounds like a racist term. It's just, I don't know where it comes from. I meant to look it up before. Probably Shanghai. I doubt that people...
Marooning, right?
No, marooning is when you abandon somebody.
Oh, I thought that's what Shanghaiing was.
No, Shanghaiing is when you kidnap somebody and force them into service on your ship.
Oh. Yes. Oh, that seems like that's probably not a good thing.
It happens all the time, though, in this.
Yeah.
It's because they probably took people from Shanghai.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of marooning.
Yeah, exactly. You can crimp somebody and then maroon them.
That's the name of my vegan matcha patisserie in...
Okay, keep going.
Astoria is crimp and maroon.
That's just the name of two socialites. Some influencer somewhere naming their
babies. These are my children, Crimp and Maroon.
This is Crimp, this is Maroon, that's Shanghai.
Oh
what?
No.
Why?
It's like a Johnny Quest situation. Oh boy.
It's bad.
That's really bad.
Okay,
Gwyneth Paltrow, don't do that.
Hey, Gwyneth, stop it. You're cut off. Okay, Bill, Bow-Legged Bill. He was called that because he was bow-legged. What if that was the whole story? And that was sort of the story. But he was a cowboy / rancher turned sailor, and a little bit turned sailor against his will. His favorite thing ever was being a cowboy, being a ranch hand. He liked being on a horse, and he really missed the saddle. Every time he was out at sea, he was just like thinking about being back on a horse. Also, this story is told kind of through a weird perspective, where the writer is cracking me up. I do believe the writer is Jeremiah Diggs, and he wrote it in 1938, and then it was put into this book, which is a collection of a bunch of stories in 1944. But Jeremiah Diggs makes me laugh because he's really, really sarcastic, and also he talks about how this story, he's like, listen, this story is exaggerated. Like, there's no way this guy was anything that we're about to hear about. In fact, most of this story is taken from the Liar's Bench, which is just a bunch of old salty, like, sailors when they get to, like, port and they start drinking a bunch and everybody's, like, super drunk. Then people sit on this liar's bench and they start to tell these wild tales. And everything, like, a person who was 6 feet tall is suddenly 7 feet tall. But then the next time somebody says it, they're, like, 8 feet tall. They're like, just, it keeps getting like more and more just wild and out there. And so he straight up says like, this story was told to me by a bunch of fucking liars. So take this how you will.
I think we should, anytime you guys tell a story that we've told on the podcast, you should, rather than saying, I heard this story on a podcast, just be like, a couple of liars told me this story.
A couple of liars. So we should change the name of this podcast to The Liars Bench.
I love it.
It's also fun. So when I was looking up crimping, I found a specific example of this where I did find a lot of hair examples. But when I got past that, I got to an instance where these guys were paid, because lots of people were paid to go find random drunk people, and they would take these knockout drops of whatever they had, whatever poison they had to knock them out, and they'd put it in their drinks, and then it would knock them out, and they would drag them on board, and those people would wake up again and just be in the middle of the ocean. That's no choice but to work on this ship for like years, because they would be like, this is a 3-year voyage, welcome aboard, and they're like, fuck. Damn it. And so it happened quite a bit. And there was this one story of this guy who was like the best at this job. He was the best crimper, I guess. I don't know if that's the term. But he was walking through and he saw like 50 guys who had been drinking so much that like some of them had already died of alcohol poisoning. Oh my god. They were all just like lying around and like throwing up and like sleeping on like the floor.
And he was like, these seem like high rebel gentlemen.
Well, they talked about how he was, like, delighted. He's like, oh, hell yeah. And he put his drops in his pocket. And he's like, don't need you right now. And he and a couple friends just, like, started throwing random drunks over their shoulder and then tossing them aboard this ship. And the captain said, I've never seen so many dead drunks in my life, because more than half of them were already dead. They were just throwing their bodies onto the ship, and he got paid per head. And he was like, this is a great day for me. And that's just a random story I heard about crimping. So it's not great. It's not like a pretty job.
I wonder so when they talk about like someone being pressed into service, I wonder if it's like being pressed but in a crooked way, like how you crimp your hair.
Being crimped into service. Yes, it's exactly that. Okay, and I do have to say, too, before they even get to the crimping of Bow-Legged Bill, which is what this is about, they say that he was a third mate on a whaling ship called the Lily Queen, and all around him, this is kind of near Boston, but, like, all around him, there were, like, for, like, different areas, you could see, like, there's different cities or, like, ports, and he was kind of in the middle of them, and they said that people miles away could hear him singing, and people really liked Bill. He had a great attitude. He was, like, really, like, loud and boisterous and had this really dopey grin, and he was singing, and I need to... This is a quote from the author, written in 1938. There were 48 stanzas, and from the lot I have picked one, which I am allowed to include here, if I change the last line. And I am including it because it shows how Bow-Legged Bill really felt about the sea, though he was at the height of his career. And it goes. And so this is the thing, right?
Mm-hmm. The song that he was singing?
Oh, give me a bucket of bull blood. Give me the prairie grass. You can take your oceans and seafaring notions and la, tra la 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 la.
Shove them straight up your ass.
You assume that's what the last line was, but I love the writer just saying, I can include it if I change the last line. It was like, and la 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 la.
Didn't even try and make it rhyme.
Didn't even a little bit.
And another line is here.
And that's about where this book goes. It's very fun.
I like it a lot.
Okay, so because of this kind of bad attitude and how he doesn't like sailing, he was a really bad he was good at things, but he did them his own way. He never learned how to sail. Like, people were like, hey, I'm a wizened old captain and I'm here to teach you the ropes. And he's like, I don't want to learn that. Thank you kindly. Then he would just...
No ropes for me, please.
I hate ropes. See you later.
The only rope I want to see is my lasso. And then he lassos them and, like, gives them a little kiss.
And a howdy partner. I like to think that howdy partner is like aloha.
Yeah,
it means hello and goodbye. And howdy partner to you.
Oh, howdy partner.
Oh, howdy partner to you. Anyway, howdy partner.
Howdy partner.
That's how we're going to end this podcast.
I want to somehow get knuckle tattoos that say howdy partner. I don't have enough fingers, but I'll figure it out.
You get howdy, I'll get partner. You have enough knuckles for howdy.
If you count your thumb.
Which I do.
But you can't really, that's not really good for, like, you know, punching. It would just be howd, and they'd be like, what the fuck is howd?
Okay.
Anyways.
People are constantly exaggerating his skills, and he was kind of a bad sailor, but eventually he became what they called the big furriner, which I looked up and I was like, what's a furriner? It's a foreigner.
Yep.
It's just
I could have told you that.
In an accent. Reading it, though.
I grew up in the South. You learn to read that sort of stuff real quick.
A furriner, by the way, can sometimes, it just means that you're from more than 5 miles away. You're just not from that town. So that's what people called him. As this book says, he, quote, didn't know a thort from a thunder mug.
What's a thunder mug?
What's a thort?
Oh, I think it said fork.
Thort. Didn't know a thort from a thunder mug. I'm gonna put that on my knuckles. Okay, so Bow-Legged Bill was ramped into service. One day he was walking and he was carrying his pistol.
Thort and the Thunder Mug's bad name.
Done. Oh, I'm Thort. You're the Thunder Mug.
Done.
So Bow-Legged Bill, he's, out and about in a town, and this guy who was crimping saw him and was like, that person is 8'4" tall without his high-heeled boots. And he was wearing his high-heeled boots. So, he was real tall that day.
I'm picturing a guy in the town square crimping but also crumping.
Yeah. Wearing high heels. Wearing those Patrick Star boots.
Dancing. He's street dancing.
Yeah.
And there's a crowd gathered, and then he sees from a mile away this hat beginning to appear over the horizon, followed by an 8'4" man, followed by thigh-high red patent boots with a 7-inch stiletto heel.
And a cowboy hat. Love it. So he was really tall, and so they were like, we definitely need that guy. So they put knockout drops in his drink when he goes to the saloon. Mm-hmm. They drag his body and his high-heeled boots. They drag him onto the ship called Sawdust Sal. That's the name of the ship.
That's what they called me in high school.
There's a lot of that. Listen, this is a tag yourself sort of story. I'm Thort.
I'm definitely a thunder mug. You were right.
Yeah, 100%. And you guys can get Sawdust Sal or Lily Queen or Furriner. Anyone you want.
Probably don't get Furriner.
So, they take him up onto this ship. They immediately, the first mate's like, okay, he's going through the bodies. He's like, whoa, this guy is giant. And he takes his gun off of his hip, right? So, a couple hours goes by, and Bow-Legged Bill eventually wakes up from being knocked out, and he is like, oh, he's rubbing his head, he's confused, and he looks to his left, and from where he's sitting, he's so big that, when he sits up, he can kind of see over the side of the ship, so he's like, oh my god, there's water over there. And he looks to the right, and he's like, there's water over there. And he looks behind him, and he's like, oh my god. So he stands up, and then he says, and I quote, "Derned it if I hain't flooded the range of my sleep." This is how the story's gonna go back.
Is this the beginning?
Yes. Derned it if I hain't flooded the range of my sleep. I can't understand a word he says. I don't know, apparently. He's like, I must have flooded this. Am I in trouble? And so then he sees the first mate coming at him. The first mate has seen that this giant has woken up. And he comes at him holding a marline spike. And I'm guessing it's just a really big spike. And Bow-Legged Bill really sleepily and really kindly says, oh, morning. Howdy.
Howdy Pardner. He gives him the ceremonial little kiss on the cheek.
He says, morning, you hain't seen nothing of a, this is all phonetically spelled, you hain't seen nothing of a chestnut gelding tethered somewheres hereabouts, have you, stranger? So he says,
wasn't English.
He says, good morning.
I see what you mean.
Have you seen a chestnut horse tethered anywhere? I seem to have misplaced my horse, good sir. And the first mate, and if you think the first mate is going to speak English, oh, you're wrong. The first mate says, get aloft there. Actually, you know what? You read it. You go ahead and you be the first mate.
Okay. Get aloft there, you swill-souted son of a sarpaint, and take the skyzel before I start a little gilding of my own aboard this ship.
What? I knew what it said, and I lost the thread at the bottom. Okay, so he says, and this is, I'm going to slow it down for you guys at home, since you're not fluent in pirate, like we are.
Mm-hmm. Cowboy pirate.
Get aloft there, you swill-souted son of a sarpent. So just, get out of here, you bad guy. And take in the skies before I start a little gelding of my own aboard the ship. I think he's threatening to ride him like a horse.
No. A gelding is when you...
A gelding is the horse. He says a chestnut gelding.
But when you geld a horse, I think it's when you circumcise it.
Oh, spicy.
So he's saying, I'm going to circumcise you if you don't get to work, I think.
And which is customary.
I think I might be completely wrong about what gelding is. I'm realizing.
I think that makes more sense than I'm gonna ride you like a pony.
We're gonna go for a little trot, you and I.
It's a better threat.
I was gonna say at the beginning when you were like, he doesn't want to be on a ship, he wants to be on a horse, and I was like, there's nothing in the rule book that says you can't bring a horse on a ship and ride him around the deck.
Aww. And you should.
And you should.
So after he says this, the first mate's like, I'm going to fucking circumcise you like a pony, and he's holding a spike. Bow-legged Bill is like scandalized by this attitude, and he specifically is like, hey, I'm asking about my horse. It's really not nice of you to answer so impolitely when I'm asking about my horse. Like, I'm allowed to ask about my horse, okay? And you are very rude to me. And so then the first mate is, like, holding the spike, and he comes up and he's like, hey, I'm gonna, like, stab you to death with a spike if you don't get to work. Like, yes. You are here on the ship for 3 years.
I was mistaken. It is not circumcising, it is castrating a horse.
Okay.
So he was like, I'm gonna castrate you if you don't get to work.
He's probably already circumcised.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, it's like, why would you circumcise a horse?
For aesthetics. But you don't want the,
you don't want the horse. Better for the horse.
It's more hygienic. You don't want the horse to be made fun of later. Okay, so the horse is deeply religious. Alright, listen. So he's coming at him with this big spike. And so Bow-legged Bill is like, hey, he's like threatening me. And he's like still is not grasping this. And so he reaches for his gun on his hip and the gun is gone. And he's like, what? Where'd my gun go? And so the first mate comes at him with a spike. And with little to no fanfare, he reaches out, he grabs the spike, he takes it away from this man. He's just like, give me that. This is dangerous. And he says, quote, don't you know this thing is dangerous with a sharp point to it? And he tosses it overboard. He's like, don't play with sharp things. And so then he's like, now where's my horse? So now the first mate's like pissed. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And so he starts to like charge him. This is like alerted all the other people on the ship. So they all come out and it starts this giant fight where all of these men are attacking Bow-legged Bill. And he has such a giant fucking wingspan that he's basically just like straight arming like swinging his arms around and like clotheslining people with his own goddamn arms. I'm like, ah!
He's just spinning around like a helicopter as people run at him from all directions.
But like basically, like he's just, he's picking people up with very little effort and just kind of tossing them over the side of the ship and stuff. He's like, hey, I'm just asking about my horse. He says, Haas. And so then the captain comes out, right? He hears all the commotion. He comes out and he's like, hey! And he says, somebody throw Bow-legged Bill over the brig. Like, throw that guy out. He's, he can't be on the ship anymore. He's causing too many problems. And so the skipper goes to get him, right? And as the skipper does that, he turns around to go grab Bow-legged Bill. He's the only one that will. And it turns out Bow-legged Bill is just holding a giant 6-shooter, like, pistol. And the guy's like, what? We took your gun. And he's like, not the one in my high-heeled boot. And so they hadn't thought to check his shoes where he's also holding guns.
In fairness, it's really hard to unlace thigh-high, red patent leather stiletto heel boots.
Well, Bow-legged Bill had no problems taking those off. So, ooh, whoop, whoop. He's got some practice. So he's pointing his gun at him. And so then Bow-legged Bill, pointing the gun at his face, fires. And the bullet hits this man's on, like, the right side of his cheek, and it clips off his mustache. He has one of those long, like, windy handlebar mustaches.
Like a cartoon villain mustache?
Yeah, and he shoots, and it clips off the right side. And before the guy can really react to what just happened, he shoots again, and it clips off the left side. So
that was nice of him.
Trimmed his mustache very evenly. And now the guy's like, oh my god! And everybody's fucking terrified. They're like, this man can't be taken down. And he goes... he basically, like, turns around and he's like, now everybody needs to turn this ship around so I can go find my horse. Yeah? It's not nice to take people against their will. And they're like, okay. Well, this is kind of a mutiny. And he's like, I'll show you mutiny. And he, like, waves his pistol again. And they're like, all right. So then they all turn, like, the ship around and they, like, grumble, but they row back to shore. And he gets off and he's like...
They row?
I don't know how a ship works. I'm assuming. Sail? They sail back to shore, and then he, like, gets off, and he goes about his life. But that was his very first time out on sea. That's the first voyage of Buffalo Bill.
Oh my god.
Not Buffalo Bill, Bow-Legged Bill.
I love it. I do appreciate that he shot off the other side of the guy's mustache because, like, you know all those prank videos that went around in, like, 2007 or whatever?
Waxing.
Oh, no, where they would shave off, like, one of someone's eyebrows, and then you have the choice of either, like, drawing on an eyebrow or shaving off the other one.
You have to shave it off.
You have to shave it off. Yeah. I agree. But, you know, if he had just half of the mustache, he would have to either draw on the rest of my mustache or cut the other side. Honestly, it was nice of him to even it out.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, he was definitely like, I'm not a bad... Also, he was polite throughout this entire time.
Yeah, he was like, excuse me.
Polite. Hello,
Hi.
Where's my hops?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next and last story I'm going to tell you about Bow-Legged Bill.
It's also the second.
Slick Britches. It's two of two. Slick Britches the Haas Mackerel. I'm sure you know what that is. I barely even need to tell this story to Max.
I'm
nodding.
Trying to parse that piece by piece.
Slick Britches.
Slick britches. So, wet pants.
The Haas Mackerel.
Is that like a horse mackerel or is that like...
Haas is what he calls his horse.
Okay. So that's like a horse mackerel, which I guess is a fish?
This is what you need to know.
So that's a fish wearing wet pants, which I guess makes sense. If a fish had to wear pants, then the pants would probably be wet. But why would a fish have to wear pants? I'm just trying to...
So, first you need to know that a Haas mackerel is a giant tuna. It's not even a mackerel.
Not even a mackerel.
No, it's not a mackerel.
God damn it.
It's a Haas mackerel, which is a tuna. So Bow-Legged Bill, he's out about like Provincetown, and he sees all of these men who are going out to fish for giant tuna. It's like giant tuna season. And he sees them all doing this, and he watches for a while. Everybody's out on the shore, like everyone's abuzz, like this is something that men do. They go out and they get these giant tuna. And Bow-Legged Bill has been watching for a while, and so he goes up to one of the ships and he's like, hey, how much do you think one of those Haas mackerels weighs? And the guy's like, oh, easily like 1,000 pounds. Like, it's like 1,000-pound fish. Like, they're giant. And they are giant, right? Like, he's like, they're a huge fish. Like, it takes everything. It takes several of us to pull it in. We have to have these special equipment and machinery, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, interesting. And the guy's like, what? Because, like, now Bow-Legged Bill's kind of laughing at him. And he's like, I don't know. Where I'm from, we don't roll out of bed for less than a ton. Less than 2,000 pounds. It's not even, like, a challenge unless it's over 2,000 pounds. And the guy's like, so you'd say that if you were to catch 1,000-pound tuna, you would just throw it back because it was too little? You would throw back the little guy? And he's like, yeah, I'm just saying I wouldn't even waste my time on that. Only 2,000 pounds for Bow-Legged Bill over here. And the guy's like, all right. Well, nice talking to you. He goes to get on his boat, and he's like, hey, take me out on the boat with you. I really want to catch one of these giant tunas. And he's like, no, not at all. You're green. You've never done this before. This is my business, and the tuna only come up here, like, once a year, basically, so I'm not going to waste my time trying to teach you how to do this. And he's like, I can pull up one of those tuna with my bare hands. It's going to be, like, 2,000 pounds. And the guy's like, no, you can't. That's crazy.
Is he going to noodle for it?
And he's going to put his arm in and then raise it above his head.
Yeah, noodling is catfishing, but not like the internet kind, like when you fish for catfish. It's, you stick your arm in the water and you wiggle it around so it looks like a giant worm, and then giant catfish come up and swallow your arm up to the shoulder, and then you just yank them out of the water. And that's noodling, and it's a real thing that people do.
And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Why would you do that? So he's like going back, so he finally says like, hey, you're a betting man, right? And the guy's like, sure, I've been known to be a betting man. And he's like, okay, if I don't catch a 2,000-pound tuna with my bare hands, I will, quote, pay you 20 silver dollars and marry your meanest of kin. I'm gonna give you money and I'm gonna marry your bitch sister. And he's like, oh my god, fine. You know what? I'll do it for the 25 silver coins. I don't want you in my family. And so he's like, get on the boat. And so he goes on the boat, and the first Haas mackerel they see is easily 2,000 pounds. It's this giant fish. And they all start freaking out. The captain immediately has forgotten, like, his bet, because he's like, we gotta get that. Like, that's the biggest one I've ever seen.
He's doing his job.
Yeah. And Bow-Legged Bill immediately starts to, like, wipe people out, like, get out of my way! Comes up and he's like, that one's 2,000 pounds, right? That's big enough for our bet. And the captain's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this with you. Like, we need that for our business. And he's like, nah, I can get it. And so he jumps in the water on top of this goddamn tuna and holds it by its back fin and is riding it. This is where Slick Britches come in, I'm pretty sure. I think he's Slick Britches.
Oh, because he's in the water and
he's riding it. He's riding it now. He's got his legs so tight around the back of his tuna, and it's like, ah! And it's like,
is he
fighting
like Free Willying? Does that happen in Free Willy?
No.
Oh.
Not even a little.
Or no, the other one.
This is like what you do when you ride a mechanical bull, for sure. But he's like writing it and he's screaming, "Come along, little doggy!" like over and over again, because that was normal speak then.
Yeah, that's just something you say to
Come
people.
along, little doggy. He's like screaming. Everybody's starting to like cheer him on, and this giant tuna actually jumps over the ship like 3 times with
like
him
Free
on
Willy.
top of it. Now he's Free Willy.
Okay.
Listen, we eventually got to Free Willy. And then Michael Jackson sang, and it was beautiful. He's like going back and forth, and then as they're all like screaming and like hollering for him, he starts to like realize that the tuna is losing energy, and finally like the tuna breaks like a horse. It's like, I guess fine. I guess we're doing this. I guess I'm just like swimming with you on my back
I'm a
now.
horse now.
And so I guess I'm a seahorse. I'm embarrassing. And so they start going back towards shore, right? And everybody's really excited. Everybody like on shore has started to like gather, and they're all like cheering him on and stuff like that. But when he gets up to the shore, he actually, before he reaches it, instead of dragging the tuna out of the water, he jumps off the tuna and he slaps it on its ass, and it swims away as he like pushes it the rest of the way back in the water and lets it go. And everyone's like, that was 2,000 pounds. Like, you just cost that captain so much fucking money. Like, that was his whole bit. And then also they're like, we're about to call the police. Like, they need to do like a wellness check on your fucking brain, dude. Like, what the heck? You just rode that horse, that fish like a horse, and then let it go. And so they're all freaking out. But Bill says, and this is the end quote, Bill says, quote, "That poor old wind-broke water bug. I tell you folks, there ain't nothing that'll break a cowhand's heart so quick as to find a critter, 2-legged or 4, with the ruff all rode off at the first mount." Aww. He says, listen, if it had fought me all the way back, I would have eaten it, but it gave up too soon and it made me sad. Oh, no. I will say, so he says,
so sweet.
Breaking it down, wind broke water bug.
Sure.
Hilarious.
Yes.
That's exactly what that was.
Mm-hmm.
But also he says there's nothing that'll break my heart so quick as to find a critter 2-legged or 4. Now, the tuna had no legs.
Mm-mm.
That was a no-legged critter. Still sad, though. Sad enough for old bow-legged Bill to give him up.
Yeah. I feel like you should have said, like, a critter with anywhere between 0 and
4 legs.
8 legs.
I ain't never seen a millipede that gave up so fast. So, these stories of Bow-Legged Bill, again made popular by Jeremiah Diggs in 1938. He wrote a book called Bow-Legged Bill, the Seagoing Cowboy, and in that book, Bow-Legged Bill captures a mermaid because his, like, weird coworker, like fellow sailor, is like, I am sad, I haven't seen a woman in so long. He's like, watch this! He noodles for a mermaid. And he does like a bunch of other cool stuff, mutineering and whaling and singing and doing all this stuff. So like he can sing to the whales. Yeah, he's like a wild old cowboy. This is technically, it is folklore, but it's made up folklore, which I know is a weird thing, but it has a category of its own that I just learned about called fake lore.
Ooh.
And I think your story counts as that. I think that sort of like a made up kind of cryptid, whatever, I think it could count as fake lore.
I think that Tailypo is regular folklore, but the big toe, like things like scary stories to tell in the dark,
yes,
that have roots in folklore but aren't themselves folkloric, I think that would be closer to fake lore.
Along in that, I think you're right, because along in that category is also the Blair Witch from the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah.
Like, has roots in actual, like, horror stories that you would hear, but is made up for the movie.
Also, the movie The Ritual on Netflix, which if you like scary movies with spooky
Swedish
creatures,
forests.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's genuinely terrifying.
That's aesthetically beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful movie, but a lot of things about that are fake lore.
Also, all creepypastas.
Never heard that. Yes,
is fake lore too.
Yeah, Slenderman.
I was a huge fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan of Slenderman, but I'm a huge fan of knowing that fake lore is a thing. It's clever.
That's interesting.
I asked my grandmother, so this is the last thing, I didn't ask my grandmother, I asked my aunt, I called her today, because for some reason, she was born in 1946, I believe, and so I was like, this is about her time period of the stories that she would have been hearing growing up, and I've never heard of Bow-Legged Bill. And so I called her up, and I was like, hey, have you ever heard this? And she said that my grandmother when she was growing up, my grandmother used to practice English on the kids. When my aunt was growing up, my grandmother would practice English, and she would read them from these books, like American folk, probably this exact book. She would literally pick it up and then practice her English by reading these stories.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so she said that it also makes a lot of sense when my grandmother said things like, my mom says, like, kiss my grits, and I think she got that from my grandma, and she said things like, she just had a lot of, like, weird old cowboy phrases in, like, a tiny Filipino accent, and that's,
I love it.
I think that might be where it's coming from. But she said that every time they read Bow-Legged Bill, my grandma would laugh until she cried because she was like, June! And my aunt would be like, what? And she'd be like, he's riding a fish like a horse! She would just, like, die laughing at it. She loved Bow-Legged Bill. So it's kind of a fun thing that my aunt was like, I haven't thought about that literally since I was a child, but yes, and that only brings up good memories.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Bow-Legged Bill helped teach my grandmother English.
Thanks, Bow-Legged Bill.
Thank you, Bow-Legged Bill. Jeremiah Diggs.
I like that the story that the Bow-Legged Bill, the seagoing cowboy. I think the title of that illuminates something as well, where it's like specifically an American story about an American kind of stereotype at the time of the cowboy going to like some place that is foreign to his understanding, the sea, which is like anathema to like what a cowboy is.
Yeah.
And applying like the same logic to a totally different, it's like
it's a fish out of water story.
Yeah.
But like the exact opposite.
It's a not fish in water.
It's the out of water that is a fish.
It's the water bug fish.
Oh, you win broke water bug.
Yeah. Oh, I like that so much.
Yeah, Bow-Legged Bill. So this was my kind of intro for me into American, like, old cowboy tales and folklore and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie, it was delightful. So Jennifer, thank you for the book. I love it.
Jennifer.
Okay, are we good?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. Guys, please rate and review and subscribe and do all that stuff.
Ring that bell.
Ring that ding-a-ling-a-ding, that ding-a-ling-a-ding-dong. This isn't YouTube. You don't have to do anything like that. Reach out, say hi, and have a good week.
Yeah. Also, we've mentioned this before, but if you guys have any stories that you want us to tell, let us know. We might do it. We might not.
Reach out on Instagram. The Instagram is sort of the story, all one word, and say hi.
Yeah, say hi. We like you guys.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye. Like pepper spraying your blood.
Ew, pepper spraying my blood. They should put blood in pepper spray canisters. Like, not they as in the police, but I think protesters should carry pepper spray canisters full of blood as
That's
like a funny
terrifying.
joke against the police.
That would be a hilarious joke.
And they're like, so what happened exactly? You were pepper sprayed? No, I was blood sprayed. I was covered in blood.
I just got assaulted with arterial spray is the most police thing I've ever heard.
I'm just saying. I think it'd be cool.